never really been a fighting game.
What was your favorite fighting game?
That's a good question. My first was Mortal Kombat, and I actually have the newest Mortal Kombat, and it is a lot of fun. It's pretty intense. Mortal Kombat 10 or 11, I think it's now. I don't want to say it's my favorite. I liked Soul Calibur on Dreamcast.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That was a fun game. That was a really
Did you
awesome
play Street
graphics.
Fighter? The early ones, Street Fighter
I mean,
2?
yeah. I just
Played a lot of Street Fighter 2.
there's only so much I can play those kind of games before they
Right.
just get boring to me.
Yeah.
You know, because I like RPGs. That's why I like Destiny as a first person shooter, because it's the most RPG like. I mean, Borderlands is also very similar in that sense, but Borderlands gets a little too corny, cheesy for me. Destiny kind of keeps it a little bit more realistic. I say realistic because it's set way in the future, but I don't know. I like the ability to choose to play multiplayer. Like if I want to go fight other, Guardians, I can go do that. I can go join go in the Crucible and fight other people, or I can go join some Guardians and go fight.
Right, like in
monsters.
Mortal Kombat, you're stuck in a 2-dimensional plane or 3-dimensional plane, like Battle Arena Toshinden, but you have the whole game is you're fighting another guy. Like
Exactly.
you can't leave and go to the castle to talk to the king and then go out and explore the trees.
PvP, player versus player.
And I guess they're kind of blending fighting games into the Grand Realm games in a lot of ways. Like I guess maybe Dark Souls.
Oh, thank you so much. Did you see the look on my face? I was thinking Dark Souls. All I could think is Dark Souls. You can invade. There's a whole PvP side of the game, and people play that game specifically for that. Like I don't know how many people love Dark Souls, but I certainly do. You can invade another person's world. They can just be playing their world, playing their game, and boom, it's like you've been invaded. And it's like you don't know where the person is. They're somewhere on the map, and they're all in red. They're like a red phantom. And then you see them, and then you're like, oh man, and you got to fight them because they want to kill you in your game while you're playing. Amazing. Such a cool... I don't know any other games like that you can do that. That's so awesome that isn't, but it's because they merged it so perfectly. It's an awesome RPG. You're leveling up. You have to, you not only are you leveling up, you're choosing what type of loadout, what kind of a player. Are you going to be magic? You can be like big strength, huge hammer, or massive axe, or like fast dexterity build, really quick daggers, make them bleed or something. There's all sorts of different things that you can do, and that's the beauty of those kind of games. Every time you play it, it's different. Like even Final Fantasy VI, that's your favorite Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
So even in that game, you could play it 3-4 different times with different characters every time. A different party.
Like I would always get Ultima, X-Cast, cast Ultima twice. But you would have every character had their own unique ability. Like Locke could steal, the old man could learn blue magic and recast. The Gao could learn the monster's abilities. You have the runic sword girl that can drain enemies' spells.
Yeah,
tons of options.
It doesn't exist anymore. They don't give you that. Now they're like, here, you're this ultimate character. Now go do all this stuff with this one character.
So like I like earning my strength in games and struggling to become strong and having the threat of losing and failing.
What game pops in your head that would be prevalent in?
The first thing I thought of was Fallout 76, but you're not really a bad ass in Fallout 76 because you're kind of like a paper cannon now. Like if I play as a sniper, like as a stealthy sniper in power armor, but if I get jumped by like 3 level 62 ghouls, they'll beat the hell out of me. And it's good. Like I'll run for my life. I have to run for my life in that game.
Do you players ever attack you in that game?
No, it's not set up. Did you ever play Ultima Online? No. It was great. You just get ganked. But now if they hit you,
that doesn't sound great to me.
But it made it terrifyingly. Like you were always on edge. The whole game, it was so memorable. Those moments when you would escape or fight for your life and win.
It sounds like exactly the feeling Dark Souls gives you when you get that invasion. You've been invaded, and it's like, oh man, now I can't even go along and like explore the world I'm in because there's someone here that is actively trying to kill me, and then that takes precedence.
And so the developer has like walking the fine line of not letting their players get griefed by people that want to play PvP when you don't want to PvP.
Well, you don't have you can be alive or dead, there's different versions of it throughout the Dark Souls series, but essentially, if you're alive, you can be invaded. If you're dead, you can't be invaded, but you have less health, you do less damage, and you can't summon other people to help you. So if you're human, you can actually summon other people to help you. So it could be like 2v1 or 3v1 or 3v2 or maybe 2v2. I think maybe there could be 4 players max in a world, but even still, like, it's crazy to think about. You know, you're just going along, suddenly, like, boom, some guy joins and kills you, and you're like, oh, I have to start all over again. And it's like, that's kind of what Dark Souls is all about. Oh, I just died. Time to start over again.
I find that
die a lot in that game.
Yeah, I need that stuff in games. I want the challenge.
Play Dark Souls. You haven't played it, right?
No, I haven't played it yet.
Play some Dark Souls.
So maybe what we're missing from a good RPG is the challenge. Like, the problem with Final Fantasy VII is I never died. I don't know about you. I never died. That game was so easy. It was fun. It was super fun, but I was so powerful and ahead of the curve the entire game.
But did you grind? Did you build
I grinded, yeah.
See, that's it. You had to do that. If you were to just rush through that game, most games, you would get creamed.
And I'm a grinder.
Yeah, exactly. So you level up all your stuff. So that's you. That's not the game itself. That's prepping. Now, I'll tell you right now, I've died a bunch in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, not in the normal version of the game, but the hard mode is significantly different. No items ever. You don't get to use items ever at all. As soon as you hit hard mode, it's like items are just grayed out. You just can't use them. You still collect them, but it's pointless because, and it's split into chapters, and you don't get any MP restore. So once your MP is gone, it's gone. I mean, there's these boxes that you can hit that give you a little bit, but you have to really do a nice balance through each of the each chapter. It's like, it gets really tough. And if you have no MP by the time you get to the boss of that chapter, you have no MP. You can't use a Phoenix Down to level up your guy. I don't know if you guys know what a Phoenix Down brings. It's an item that brings your character back to life. That's throughout the entire Final Fantasy series. Yeah, but I love dying. I love the challenge. The challenge of games make me want to play that game more.
Have you played 7 Days to Die?
No, I've heard of it, though.
It's a survival crafting game like Minecraft, but with zombies. And you can set the settings so that when you die, you drop all of your items on the ground, wherever you were. And then you have to go find your backpack. Yeah. Or you can set it so that you drop your backpack, but you keep your belt. Or you can set it so that you don't drop anything.
Isn't there, like, griefers that go crazy in that game?
Yes, and I always want to play.
I think I saw a YouTube video where they were just making.
You can just pop into a server and snipe and find a weapon. It's
I don't like those kind of games.
Oh, I do. I mean,
do you grief people?
No.
No? Okay.
No, not normally.
Cool. Not normally?
Very, very rarely, like once every 7 years.
Do they have to piss you off first, or?
No, I just get into the mood, man. You get that bloodlust.
I just like killing.
You just want to taste that meat.
Normally,
no. Normally, I just play for the mechanics, and I don't want to ruin other people's time.
The mechanics are huge, man.
Yeah.
You got to enjoy the mechanics. That's true. Well, you know, I'm going to read some of this stuff. I got some really cool articles about basically different video game consoles, how they affected the new systems that have come out throughout the years, and it's really interesting. So I'm just going to hit up some of these last super chats real quick, just so we can stay relevant here. Grim Soul Banisher, what's good, says BioShock is one of the best games ever made. At me, wow, okay. I never played the BioShock series, but I did add them to my library when PlayStation gave them away like 4 months ago. I think it was like the daily or the monthly game for free. So maybe I'll give them a shot. Mr. Go says, I want to be the first man to find a Martian and sleep with it. People would say, homie slept with a Martian once. All right. You got to have your goals, I guess. DK6 says, I posted links to all of Tim's channels on JRE, Joe Rogan, and said, let's get subs to 1 million. Economic intercourse was Timcast's topic today. Oh, okay. I actually didn't check his videos because I was watching the Joe Rogan show, and then I was preparing for this show. So, but yeah, I'll check it out what that is. And thank you. I appreciate you spreading the word. Blackrock Beacon says, I like BioWare stuff. Really want KOTOR 3.
The Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic. Wow.
Good
yes. Why can't we have
one of the last great RPGs?
That was a really good game.
I don't know if that was last. It was a so good game.
Yeah, there's others that have come out that are really good, but that would be great. They didn't change it too much.
Right.
That's the problem. They keep changing it to like the new way, and it's like people don't want chores.
I'll tell you,
we'll read about that in a second. Hold on. Chaotic 120 says recommending the Legend of Heroes Trails series again because the company that made it has cared for a story over graphics for almost 40 years now. Is that I don't know what that is. You know what that is?
No.
Legend of Heroes? No. I'll have to check that out because that sounds great. I don't care about graphics. I care about gameplay. Kevin Lyon says, any comment on the lack of interest in VR? I have a Vive, and it's pretty crazy. It works perfect. Are we all just lazy? No, I think what it is the lack of development for that kind of software. The first thing is, not everyone has VR systems. Like, I have a PSVR. It's incredible. I love it so much. There's nothing like blasting a fireball out of my hand in Skyrim and then shooting an arrow that it feels like I'm actually shooting an arrow. It's incredible. It's awesome. But it's not on the forefront yet. People aren't there yet. People are still using console games, so it's just we're just behind it. In like 10 years, it's going to be huge. VR will be the new gaming. You're going to be in the world, and it probably won't be big bulky things. You might even just like have glasses or contacts, even maybe. Who knows? And that's actually an interesting subject. We should talk about like where VR is headed and what it means to like go into that.
Have you seen the treadmills, the VR treadmills?
I have, yeah.
Dude, I want to get one, and they're not that expensive.
They're very cool.
So you put these slippery socks on, and you can run full speed. You're tethered in on your waist. You can jump, and the tether will catch you, and then you can duck. You get haptic feedback vests. And gloves, and you have the gun, the VR gun, and that's it, man. You can feel yourself getting hit. You can duck.
Have you tried it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, and they even as like 4 years ago they were available, and
well, they're
you should
expensive.
get one for the house. They're like $1,600. I think you can get like a really good one for that cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Like that would be amazing.
Yeah, Tim's constantly trying to find a space for his I forget what it is, the Oculus, I think it is.
What I've been missing is the ability to run around. When I go in there and I have to click a button to walk forward,
to teleport.
That's not fun yet. But if I'm on a treadmill, I think
Have you seen Ready Player One?
No.
So this is a movie about essentially the future of gaming is everyone just kind of goes into this VR world, and that's what it ends up. It's just being this huge VR system, and you put on these glasses, you put on these gloves, and you step on this, multi-directional treadmill, and you just go in this world. You walk. It's like as if you're in another world. Absolutely going to be the future of gaming, and it's so cool to see that kind of technology. It's kind of like watching Star Trek back in the day with their boop 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 talking, and then cell phones kind of come around, and like Star Trek actually started a lot of different scientists in a different direction, and I don't have anything pulled up with that, but it's cool. Like VR is definitely going to be a future, and that's one of those movies that I remember seeing going, yeah, that's probably going to be what it's like. Like that's going to be games. We're going to actually be like role-playing games is going to be you actually role-playing the character,
dude,
in their eyes.
I'm feeling like AR, augmented reality is coming, where you see Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
It was okay.
AR.
But what's going to happen is I'll come up to you, and me and you will activate our game, and I'll see your avatar, you'll see me, but it'll be my avatar, and then we'll have like a menu in our AR on us that we can then RPG against each other, and then you look over and you see Tim come downstairs, and you're like, I'll click attack, and he's like, I'll click item, pick my item, and we'll have this turn-based game.
At the same time, though, the problem with that is we have to be together physically. Like I'm a gamer. I've been playing with my buddy who lives in New York. We game all the time, and it's like I never left New York. And even when I was in New York, we just gamed. So now I'm not there, but we can still play all these games together. So the multiplayer aspect of it is huge.
Being in the same room is like kicking it back to what it used to be like before the internet.
But we're so spread out all over the place. Granted, I do like the idea of that.
But you want both.
They actually have this game I've seen that you can play play tag. Like it's like an augmented reality, like first-person shooter, and it's really interesting because you like are playing, you're shooting each other and like taking hits and damage, and you can dodge and stuff, but it's like, it's kind of like, why wouldn't you just get some Nerf guns and have fun with that? It's like, it feels so weird, like, ooh, hey, ooh, I'm shooting you, instead of like shooting you with a Nerf gun. Or, I don't know. I don't know. I think VR is definitely the future of gaming, though. Well, let me just finish there. We keep when we get talking about games, we just kind of go on a tangent. Let's see. W. Anders says, on Edge gameplay, huh? Sounds like you need Eve. No, I don't like. I'm understanding. I've never played Eve, but you can lose your stuff. If you blow up, you're done, right? You lose that ship.
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know either. But why would it be on Edge gameplay? You know, maybe just because people can show up and blow you up.
I think that's true.
And finish, like you have to start over or whatnot.
The job.
Okay. Yeah, there's something to be said about permadeath. There's a whole nother thing. So if you die, you're dead completely.
Yeah, I love roguelike games.
I love them, man. They make my heart race.
Yeah, we talked a lot about FTL games like that.
FTL, yeah. I mean,
it's just winning a game like that or beating it is so value. There's such a value. So if you could have lost the entire moment, every step of the way counts like real life.
Yep, exactly. It's like Tim says. It's like the musician on the side of the road. Hey, you wanna listen to my album? And you're like, here, go ahead and take it. And if he gives it to somebody, they're not going to listen. They're going to throw it away. But if they pay for it, they're significantly more, the chances of them listening to it are way higher because they paid for it. It's something that they invested in, and that's a big difference. Let's see. Bobcat says, for gaming, I would recommend you play The Black Watchman. It's a PARG. I don't know what that is. With a good blend of paranormal and real-world elements. Oh, it sounds good, actually. James Wallace says, try Final Fantasy 15 or Elder Scrolls Online. That's actually Final Fantasy 14 or Elder Scrolls Online. So both multiplayer games. Man, I know what Final Fantasy 14 is, and and Elder Scrolls Online. They're basically both very deadly for me because I would get addicted to them because I love that. I love multiplayer everything, and I gotta limit myself.
ESO's good. You don't have to pay a monthly fee.
Yeah.
And just play whenever. I have a guy, I have a 3-year-old character that I touch once in a while.
Do you need a computer to play, or is it on console?
I don't know if you need it. I use it on computer. I don't know if it's on console.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Five Finger John, thanks for the super chat. The Rising Refugee says, have you played the Witcher series? No, and actually people have been suggesting that I play that. I heard it's good. I haven't tried it yet. But check this out. Check this out here. Here's an article that says these video game consoles defined your childhood and helped pave the way for connected living, which is interesting. It's like goes beyond just video games. So let's see here. It's 30 years since Nintendo released its handheld console, the Game Boy, which was actually my first console. Gaming has changed a lot since then, with today's devices offering users top-notch graphics, in-depth stories, and online gameplay. While it wasn't the first handheld gaming device, the Game Boy had mass market appeal, durability, and strong stable of games. Here, CNBC takes a look at some of the consoles that over the course of a few years defined gaming in the 1990s and early 2000s, paving the way for today's connected, hyper-fast, immersive systems. Look at that, 1988, the Sega Genesis.
That's the one.
That's a lot sooner than I actually thought it came.
That's why
1988.
And the only reason it really succeeded is because it came out way before the Super Nintendo.
I had no idea.
Super Nintendo was first, I don't think Sega ever would have become a thing.
Yeah, and you know what? Sega Genesis was awesome.
Yeah.
Like the colors were really vibrant.
Oh, it was so good. Apparently, Super Nintendo had better music. Had a better music chip in the console. It was it came out a couple years later. But the Sega was so groundbreaking.
Yeah, let's read about it. It says Sega's 16-bit Mega Drive, known as the Genesis in North America, was launched in Japan in 1988. The games on the console, which came in cartridges that were inserted in the top of the device, included Sonic the Hedgehog, Earthworm Jim, and FIFA International Soccer. In some homes, the Mega Drive's shelf life was extended by the release of the 32X in 1994. Maligned in some quarters for being clunky stop-gap before the launch of a CD-based Sega Saturn, the 32X served as the add-on that gave Mega Drive owners the opportunity to play games such as Virtual Fighter. Look at that, the 1989 Game Boy. I still have that Game Boy. Oh. I still have it, and it still works. It actually has a line in the middle because I played it so much, but it's pretty cool. It still works. Since its release to the Japanese market in 1989, the Game Boy has gone on to sell more than 100 million units worldwide, becoming perhaps the most iconic handheld console of all time. Of course it is. It's the Game Boy.
It was the one.
It's Game
Did
Boy.
you ever play the handheld games before that? Like, it would be like one game. It'd be like football. And
yeah.
You'd have like green dots.
I had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah. Yeah,
and it was like games on my watch. I had a watch game.
It was like to the left, to the right, and then jump and shoot, and that was basically it. And you get killed so easily. But yeah, I mean, I don't need to read all this. I'm just gonna go through it. Like, look at this, the Super Nintendo. This doesn't even look like the Super Nintendo. This must be like the first iteration of it because they changed it.
Yeah, they gave it color.
Yeah. And then the Sony PlayStation came, and actually there's this little known Sony Nintendo PlayStation. I actually just recently, do you know about this?
No.
So Nintendo and PlayStation were actually gonna do this. The PlayStation was supposed to be the Nintendo that played CD-ROMs to have more memory and be able to play bigger games. And I guess it just never. Let's read about it. It says, over a year of on and off tinkering, the Nintendo PlayStation is fully operational. The unreleased console. Oh, this is actually a recent article that came out 3 years ago. So they're just talking about making one of these things work. No, I don't want to dig through the article. I was just having it here to show like that this actually PlayStation was supposed to be a Nintendo CD drive, but it was just they didn't work. It fell through, and the Sony PlayStation was born. It came out, and it was supposed to rival Sega Saturn, and man, did the PlayStation really like blow up. It's funny, I didn't even realize that the PlayStation came out before 64. If someone asked me that, I would have been like, yeah, 64, and then the PlayStation started like advancing through, but no, the Nintendo 64, and what an amazing system. I don't know how many of you had the Nintendo 64, but what a great, man, this is it right here, the 4 ports. Being able to play with 3 of your buddies.
Mario Kart.
Look at this, GoldenEye.
One of the best games of
Everyone's played GoldenEye, right?
It was so good. Jaws was too tall.
Oddjob's not allowed. He's too short. It's not fair. Then the PlayStation 2 comes out, and it's like really, and then the Xbox really kind of was a huge thing because it had internal memory for the first time, so you can actually store music and games and just play it. You know, you didn't have to do memory cards. Like you can see here, there's a little slot above here. That was for a memory card.
PS2, man. That was my system.
Yeah, it was great. I had all the PlayStations, and they're great.
I was like an adult for the first time.
Let's see. So today, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo continue to develop and release consoles. It's given that these devices offer users sophisticated graphics and connected gameplay, but they have also become entertainment hubs that provide a wide range of services. These add-ons include virtual reality gaming and access to streaming services such as Netflix and Spotify. As for the future, tech giant Google will soon release Stadia, a cloud-based system that will enable games to be streamed on TV without the need of for a console. Very interesting. I don't know much about that. I'm going to look into it. Regardless of how technology develops, tomorrow's consoles will be defined by the things that made the Game Boy so popular: ease of use, resilience, game quality, and fun. I think that should be spun around. Fun should have been first in that. Games should be fun. You know, and I have a couple other articles, but I just want to talk about that for a little bit. Like, what games are fun, but there's some people that just play too many games. You know, the reason we're not at Mars is because of the Xbox. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah,
quote?
I've heard that.
Right. So it's like we're not using our free time to like advance human like exploration into the stars. We have games that actually we can be exploring the stars, like No Man's Sky. Have you heard of No Man's Sky?
Yeah, I have it.
How do you like it?
I haven't played it yet.
Oh, you haven't even played it?
No, I've got 600 games on Steam. I've played
so you just have them all. Yeah, you just gotta get to them eventually.
Actually, Shannon, my friend, wanted to play it. He told me last night, let's dust off your copy of No Man's Sky.
Oh, man. Someone tweeted at me and they said they have over 500 hours in No Man's Sky, and I guess it's so massive and it's multiplayer, but you will never run into another player. And I read an article about these 2 guys took like, I don't remember, like 3 weeks going to the same, trying to find each other. That was their sole purpose, and it took them forever. And I guess they found each other eventually, and it was cool. But man, that game looks fun.
Yeah, it does.
It looks immense and crazy.
Did you follow the drama with it?
Boring.
When it came out, it was just a mess.
It looks boring.
It was empty. I mean, compared to real life, yeah, all these games are. I mean, well,
no.
Why do you mean it's boring? What?
It looks boring. I like playing with other people. That's one of my number one priorities in my newer games. It's like, oh, can I play with others? No.
So No Man's Sky,
I'm not as interested.
Like you go around, you collect like plants, and you like scan stuff.
Sounds
and
like chores.
That's the game.
Chores.
Yeah, exactly.
Chores.
Like it's one of those exploration games.
I don't want to do chores.
No, I'm not.
I want to be with my buddy, playing whatever it is. I don't care what it is anymore. Like what I would do if they made the second episode of Final Fantasy VII Remake, where my buddy can come online and control one of the characters. Like, why can't that happen?
Did you ever play Ark?
Secret of Mana style. Like, back in the day, Super Nintendo, they made it clear. Oh, yeah, you control 3 people, but you're one of them, and you can tell the others what to do, but your buddy can plug in a controller and just control one of them. It's like, that's awesome.
Have you ever played Minecraft or Ark?
No.
They're crafting games. Do you ever get into craft? You don't strike me as someone that would like them.
I'm not.
And the reason for me why we used to play a lot of Ark. It's a dinosaur survival game. You chop down trees, you get
Ark.
rock, you build woods.
I didn't know it was that much of a
I'd be getting dinosaur poop and putting it in the fertilizer bin to make fertilizer, to make more berries, to feed to the dinosaurs, or to make poison. And I would log on every day so that our dinosaurs didn't starve, and it started to feel like a chore.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to collect wood, and they're like, we're going to build a base in Minecraft, go chop down a tree. I'm like, I'm just clicking a button. I'm staring at a computer screen, clicking a button. I'm like, what am I learning from this, right?
Yeah.
So I stopped.
And that brings me to this. I don't want to do my game chores, my video game chores. And it uses the new Red Dead Redemption. It says it reveals the biggest problem with marquee games today. They're boring as hell. They get so boring because you're not playing the game. You no longer are on track from the beginning to the end, chasing the bad guy the whole time. Suddenly, let's just read into it, and then we'll talk about it. It says, everything about Red Dead Redemption 2 is big. The latest open-world western, released in October by Rockstar Games, constantly reminds you of this. It takes roughly 15 minutes for its bland ever-cowboy star, Arthur Morgan, to gallop across the 29-square-mile map. It's huge. This has 200 species of animals, including grizzly bears, alligators, and a surprising number of birds, and it takes about 45.5 hours to play through the main quest, and 150-plus hours to reach 100% completion. There are more than 50 weapons to choose from, such as a double-barreled shotgun or a rusty hatchet. It's big, big, big. Its development, too, was similarly bloated. Low estimates claim that it cost about $240 million to make, spread across 8 years of development time. About 2,800 people worked on it, many of them whom worked 100-hour weeks to meet their deadline. Wow. Well, controversially, it says. The invisible hands of the market applauded. The game was released to near universal acclaim. It currently has 97% score on Metacritic, and it sold 17 million copies at $59.99 a pop in under 2 weeks. I played this game. It is amazing. The graphics are incredible. The realism of it is incredible. At the same time, you know what? Let's get into it. It goes right into it right here. It says, on top of all this bigness, Red Dead Redemption 2 is also incredibly dull. I've been playing it on and off since it was released, and I'm still waiting for it to get fun. I'm not alone in thinking so. Mark Brown of Game Maker's Toolkit, this is actually one of the YouTube channels I follow. It's a really, really good channel. They called it quite boring, and Mashable said it's a monumental disappointment. There is a glut of Reddit posts from people complaining about how slow the game feels, usually with a tone of extreme self-consciousness. Unless you're a real I guess a-hole, it's not exactly fun to stray from popular consensus. Perhaps the general hesitancy to criticize the game is due to the fact that it's not technically bad. Its graphics and scale are really impressive. It is designed to please, and yet Red Dead Redemption 2 seems to exemplify a certain kind of hollowness that's now standard among AAA titles. It's very big, with only tedium inside. Call it a real world game. It does true. That nails it right there. They tried so hard to make it realistic that it really does feel like you're walking in the desert back in the day, traveling. Like, what would you have to do? You'd have to get on your horse and ride probably 30 miles to the nearest town from your farm, and grab whatever you need. I don't know. It's like a simulator.
I'll tell you my biggest problem with it.
Go ahead,
I've only watched gameplay footage of it.
Okay,
I saw Jack
That's
Black
fine.
playing it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's this amazingly immersive game, like you're saying.
It is so
looks
immersive.
like you're in the world. He's looting guys, going through their shirts. And then he gets up and he goes and points his gun at a bunch of guys, and there's a red dot on the screen. So you know exactly where the bullet's going to hit before you even fire the gun. There's no challenge.
Hold on. Not only that, I don't know if you know this. When you aim, if there's someone in the general vicinity of where you're aiming, it snaps right to them.
Unless you can turn that off.
You can turn it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then can you turn the red dot off?
I would really be surprised if you couldn't. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to.
Those two things just destroy game immersivity. It feels
really?
like you're like an old West guy with an aim. Like
the snapping definitely does kind of.
Yeah, lose the snapping. Give me some challenge. I just was like, wow, that's easy as F.
Yeah,
he targeted like just mowed down like 9 guys, took no damage.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's just a fun.
There's a balance that you have to find between making it difficult and making it realistic. And making it fun, most of all.
Right, because realistically, you'd get hit once and you'd be dead.
Exactly. And then it's like, get shot once and you're dead. It's like, sure, it's realistic, but man, is that tedious and annoying. And it's already tedious. So look at this. This is a great little, say what you're doing. This is exactly what kind of things happen. It says, you wake up in camp, you bathe, you eat some beans, you feed/brush your horse, you ride for miles across the map to a mission waypoint, which takes a while. You get sidetracked by someone on the side of the road yelling for help, which happens all the time. Give that person a ride back the entire way you just came. Go shopping for some groceries that you now need. Return to the mission waypoint, which requires you to, again, ride across the map. And then 100 yards short of your objective, you accidentally ride off a cliff and die, and then scream at the boy. So it's like, really what it is, it's saying it's like there's so much stuff that gets you sidetracked from the story. You get taken out of the story within the game, and that's what I don't like. They're trying so hard to give you all this stuff that suddenly you're in an immersive game instead of playing a game. Like, a lot of people love Assassin's Creed. There's a huge Assassin's Creed following, and I really did like the first one. The first one was fun, but there's a point where it got boring to me the fighting alone is the reason kind of why it got boring, but a lot of this tedious chore work felt like it was in that game. And it's not just this game. It is in so many different games out there, and it's ridiculous. Even in Final Fantasy VII Remake, they put a lot of things in there that felt like they were just trying to expand the one Midgar, because it was like the original game was long. Like they didn't even do the first disc in this remake. It's just Midgar. And granted, it's amazing, and some of the new stuff is actually nice. You get a new side of some of the characters, like the Avalanche crew. Basically, you get to see more of their backstory and learn more about them, and it's pretty cool. But there's a lot of what is to be considered video game chores, and it's like, oh, I'm just doing this to do some more stuff, and you're a mercenary, so you have to go do all this mercenary stuff. And I don't know, it's not bad, but it does seem like they just put it in there because that's what people do now. They add these things that you have to go do to have all your different trophies that you need to do. So we need to have a variety of things that you have to go out and collect in the world. And it's like, it's annoying. But, I get it. They want to give you something to do. You don't want to get bored with the game. But this game is so incredibly immersive that, it's hard to... No, I mean, you do get bored because it's so immersive, actually. It's kind of like a twofer there. I don't know.
So it's too much like real life that you want to go play a video game while you're playing it because you're not entertained enough.
That actually happened to me in Fallout. Like the Pip-Boy? Yeah. And you could find games in Fallout 4?
Yeah.
I found a game that was like an old school RPG And I was obsessed with that game. I don't remember what it's called, but I just wanted to play that game. I was like, this game is so fun. Like a little mini RPG that I'm playing. And I ended up playing that game like a full day of just like playing that game, and it was so much fun.
I got into the card game mini game in Final Fantasy, was it 8, I think? It was a great card game mini game.
Yes.
The Witcher
with
has
the corners.
Yeah.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Final Fantasy.
Same with Xenogears. I played a lot of that.
Never played that game.
That game's awesome.
Yeah, I heard
Fallout's got some dailies. It's kind of annoying. I log in. I got to make ammo. You need to.
Yeah, the ammo thing. That's right.
You got to repair your stuff. You get hungry and thirsty. Geez, what else? But the thing is, last night I was playing
Fallout. Actually,
I was going to my objective, and then it was like, go explore this warehouse. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go in, and there's just something so enjoyable about headshotting these super mutants. I don't even loot them You don't even need to loot them. You just walk around, pop, because I'm testing my own ability to aim. Okay. It's like split second. It's mechanical gameplay. There's
man, with a mouse too, it must be so.
Yeah, it's still challenging, but it's there's no auto focus, there's no auto aim, so it's like if I suck, I'm gonna die. If I'm good, I'm gonna blaze through this.
Right.
That's good, but every day the merchants restock with their 1,400 caps.
Yep.
So if you collect too much junk, you can't sell it all. You got to wait 24 hours to log back into the game so that you can sell. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm like, I can't log in yet because I already spent.
When's the reset?
For me, it's like every night at 10:30 or something.
Oh, so when you're done, you're like, all right,
check out the
time
merchants.
To do my dailies.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, every game. Well, actually, not Dark Souls. Dark Souls is one of those games that it's just like you just play through the game. There's no dailies. You're just advancing in the game, But that's part of it is people are trying to keep you in their game. They want you to do the in-app purchases, to spend some money, to further their pockets, I guess. I mean, I know it goes to a lot of it goes to updating servers and paying the people that are fixing the bugs that definitely exist in all games. But it does seem to be, I can't stand that it's becoming the norm. It's just the norm now that people are just putting in-app purchases, they give out the games for free, and then you don't even get the game, basically. You get the base game, but every single thing is unlockable versus you can just pay and unlock it all, or you have to play for years to, earn that stuff, and I don't have anything offhand. Well, I guess, Fortnite feels like that to me. I've never played Fortnite.
No, me neither.
And I won't. It looks so cheesy to me.
What's it all about? It's just a first-person shooter where you can build your environment?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know much about Fortnite.
Fast-paced.
But all those Battle Royale shooters that are coming out, they're all the same thing. They literally look all the same. Yeah, you fly in, you don't have anything, you collect and you kill. The last one, you're winner, chicken dinner. And it's like, okay. But that's the same thing about those multiplayer games. It's not like you can take that stuff and go roam around with your buddy and adventure. I like the adventure. It's just PvP. Playing PvP and only PvP bores me after a while. Granted, I'm playing Doom Eternal right now, and it is so much fun. And I'm playing, of course, the PvP mode. But that's another game that you don't have any chores, and it is extraordinarily difficult. They kept the Doom difficulty, and it's really cool.
I've been playing Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. It is
tough.
Hard as.
Is that the one that I saw you playing? You were riding the
horse. I tried to siege a castle today, and it just got mangled.
Oh, really?
You can kind of blame the AI because they'll move the siege tower into position, and then they won't climb up the tower yet. It's still in beta, which is kind of fun. But there's no dailies. It's just a one-player game.
Good.
The problem is it's only one player. And it is made for 2-player for you to have your friend come in and take control of the cavalry.
Yeah,
and be your cavalry
that would be
commander.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
It's hard for me to grasp games without that multiplayer aspect of it, because we want to be in a community. We want to have, other players, even, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what kind of game you like to play. If you play with a friend that also likes that game, you're going to like that game a lot more.
Yo, have you played Lunar, the Silver Star?
Never heard of it.
Shout out to Lunar. It was a Sega CD game. Yeah, and it's one of the best RPGs I think of all time. On par with Final Fantasy, but it was just made by a different company. Working Designs, I think, made the game.
Right.
Someone mentioned it in chat a couple days ago.
Oh, cool.
It is really good.
Yeah, I've been playing this space management game called Pixel Starships. Super fun game. I've been playing for over 3 years, and it's actually PvP based. And it's weird that I would like such a PvP system, but they do have like a PvE side of the game. But what kept me in that game that I didn't get bored with it was the fact that there's a public chat, there's a fleet system that you join a fleet, and then all of a sudden you're part of a team with other people, and there's like a tournament system, and you're fighting, and you're like collectively with your guys like going up against these other fleets every month, and it's like it adds this whole side of it that I'm like, now I love this game. It's great.
Dude, I was playing Fallout a couple nights ago, and I just saw 2 giant scorch beasts in the distance, and there was another guy. So I was like, hey, we want to team up.
Because you could talk, right?
Yeah,
right.
I didn't talk, though. I just added him on my team. My mic wasn't plugged in.
Oh, okay.
And he joined me, man. And just for a moment, the two of us worked. I made his life better.
Nice.
And it's like, it's human-to-human contact. Like, I made some other guy's life a little bit better just through my support of his badassery.
So, I mean, we're kind of running over time. I don't really care. It's not a big deal. You guys are still here with us. So I want to read this article here. This is interesting. How video games affect the brain. It's kind of important. You know, I didn't read through this. It is NewsGuarded by Tim's NewsGuard thing. So yeah, whatever. Let's just let's get into it and read what it says here. It says video gaming is clearly a popular form of entertainment, with video gamers collectively spending 3 billion hours per week in front of their screens. Wow. Due to the widespread use, scientists have researched how video games affect the brain and behavior. Are these effects positive or negative? We'll examine the evidence. At a glance, more than 150 million people in the United States play video games regularly, or at least 3 hours a week. The average American gamer is a 35-year-old adult, with 72% of games aged 18 or older. With 72% of gamers aged 18 or older. For video game use by children, most parents, 71%, indicate that video games have a positive influence on their child's life. Video game sales continue to increase year on year. In 2016, the video game industry sold more than 24.5 billion games, up from 23.2 billion in 2015 and 21.4 billion in 2014. The top 3 best-selling games of 2016 were Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, Battlefield 1, and Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 is actually still on the top 3 best-selling games, and it came out over 7 years ago. Crazy. These games fell into the first-person shooter or action-adventure genres, the top 2 genres, accounting for 27.5% and 22.5% of sales, respectively. First-person shooters and action genres often stand accused of stirring aggression and causing violence and addiction. Decades of research examining video games and violence have failed to reach consensus among scientists. Scientists have been unable to find a causal link between playing video games and acts of violence in the real world. Boom! You heard it here. There is no correlation. Scientists have been studying for years, and they cannot find it.
That doesn't mean there's none. They just haven't found it yet.
Well, you know, we kind of brushed on it. I don't know if it was yesterday or the other day about how we're spoiled by movies. You know, how we see people getting shot in movies and blown up in action films. And I don't think it's just video games. I think it's more movies and TV and video games. It's this whole thing that we're becoming desensitized to those kind of acts. So it's like it's normalizing it.
Did you watch
in our culture
violent movies as a kid? Were you allowed to? What was your situation like?
Yes. I don't really remember being watching them. Like, I think the first horror something I watched was like Pet Sematary, and I was like 7.
I wasn't allowed at all.
No, not at all.
We weren't allowed to watch Tom and Jerry or the Three Stooges.
Oh, really?
No, I could watch violent.
No,
R-rated movies.
I didn't have any sort of.
And I just was complied because I was like a robot. My parents micromanaged me, so I didn't get that weird violent. I'm not used to it. I don't like horror and violence in general. And when I play games like that and I kill a lot of stuff, I get that urge.
Do you?
I feel it. It's very subtle, but it changes. Like I was telling you yesterday, I wanted to loot that toilet paper.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, when I see a green van, I play so much what was it?
Right.
Grand Theft Auto. That when he sees a green van, he wants to pull the driver out of the fucking driver's.
Yeah, because
out of
the
driver's seat.
Yeah. Whoa! Oops. And we're done. Click. No, I'm just kidding.
So it's definite. I don't know how they have not figured it out yet, or maybe it's their game. The scientists themselves are gamers and they don't want to say the wrong thing and ruin the industry.
Well, let's read on. It says more about it here. It says scientists have recently collected and summarized results of 116 scientific studies to determine how video games can influence our brains and behaviors. The findings of their review were published in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience. Quote, games have sometimes been praised or demonized, often without real data backing up those claims. Moreover, gaming is a popular activity, so everyone seems to have strong opinions on the topic, end quote, says Mark Paulus, first author of the review. By looking at all research to date, Paulus and team aimed to observe whether any trend had emerged with regard to how video games impact the structure and activity of the brain. A total of 22 of reviewed studies explored structural changes in the brain, and 100 studies analyzed changes in the brain's functionality and behavior. Results from the studies indicate that playing video games not only changes how our brains perform, but also their structure. Oh, interesting. For example, video games use a known affect attention. Video games use is known to affect attention. The studies included in the review show that video game players display improvements in several types of attention, including sustained attention and selective attention. Furthermore, the regions of the brain that play a role in attention are more efficient in gamers compared to non-gamers, and they require less activity to stay focused on demanding tasks. Also very interesting. Evidence also demonstrates that playing video games increases the size and competence of parts of the brain responsible for what is that?
That's all. Visuospatial.
Visuospatial, thank you. Skills. A person's ability to identify visual and spatial relationships among objects. In long-term gamers and individuals who have volunteered to follow a video game training plan, the right hippocampus was enlarged. Researchers have discovered that video gaming can be addictive, a phenomenon known as internet gaming disorder. In gaming addicts, there are functional and structural alterations in the neural reward system, a group of structures associated with feeling pleasure, learning, and motivation. Exposing video game addicts a game-related cues that causes craving, and monitoring their brain responses highlighted those changes that are also seen in other addictive disorders. We focused on how the brain reacts to video game exposure, but these effects do not always translate to real-life changes, notes Paulus. The research into the effects of video games is still in its infancy, and scientists are still scrutinizing what aspects of gaming impact what brain regions and how. Quote, it's likely that video games have both positive, on attention, visual, and motor skills, and negative aspects, risk of addiction. And it is essential that we embrace this complexity. Wow, so it really, it kind of, if you don't get addicted, it sounds like it's great for your brain. It actually opens up, like your hippocampus gets enlarged, and you can focus on things better, trying to get your chores done in the most efficient way. Like we touched on it the other day. It's time management. You really learn how to most efficiently play the game to get the most out of it that you can. And at least I know that's true about the core gamers, the grinders, the ones that are, I need to get all the stuff, I need to get all my stuff at max level, I need to be the best on this game.
You should see me play Crusader Kings, the way I pause and issue orders for every aspect of my kingdom. I mean, I am obsessed with efficiency.
Yeah.
So when this is talking about addiction, I think it's not just the addiction of wanting to sit down in front of the game and turn it on and play, but the addiction to model the behavior of the game. So if in the game you're pulling guys out of green vans all the time, and then you go outside, you're going to have a subconscious addiction to pulling a guy out of that green van.
I think it's bigger than that. I think I don't remember when we talked about it, but it was something about heroes. In like everybody wants to be a hero. Everybody wants that feeling you get when you rescue somebody. You know, I don't know how many people are able to say that they've rescued someone in real life, but most gamers can say, "Yeah, I've rescued Princess Peach from Bowser. I was Mario." when I first did it, it was awesome. It was epic.
I've been thinking about my brothers lately. I have 2 younger brothers, and there was one instance in each of their lives where they were bullied, and I went and confronted the bully. And I've been thinking about it like these last 2 weeks, like so feeling good about myself. Like, yeah, I was a hero. I in that, and I think I was, and I don't want to think about it too much because I don't want to ruin, the vibe. But yeah, that obsession with being, and in New York City one time there was a fire and I was like, I'm ready to run into the street and grab someone out of the street if they need it.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. People want to be a hero. They want that feeling of saving someone or honestly getting that dopamine rush or that kick that they get from games, because real life is kind of boring. Life is, you're not everyone's going to be a hero. You just kind of go to work and you come home, and it could tend to be a little dull sometimes. I mean, it's not true for everybody, but video games and movies and TV are desensitizing us. So getting that feeling of being a hero is even harder and harder to achieve. But if you're a gamer and you have a game that you really love, and say a friend plays it also, then all of a sudden you have like, an outlet to feel like you're a part of something, for one, and saving something, even if it is just, in a computer simulation, essentially. It's something to be said about our society as a whole, I think.
There's a different kind of reward, too, of like rescuing a computer character and rescuing your friend in the game if you're playing multiplayer together.
That's true.
And like, I think having a child is a form of like this feeling of hero, like you're rescuing this child from the torture or whatever. So there's a different kind of there's a similar reward to, like, I don't have any kids, but like to protecting another human, to like protecting your friend in the game. I love being a healer.
Now, this doesn't have anything to do with games, but you brought up having a kid, and that's kind of like being a hero. But there's a lot of things that people shouldn't have kids until they've figured out how to be a hero in their own right. And a lot of people haven't figured that out yet, and then they have kids, and they like never. How do I sum this up quickly without losing track? It's kind of like, if you haven't figured out what you want to do in life, if you kind of don't have a goal, and then you have a kid, that kid becomes your goal, and that's unhealthy, I think. Because then you pitch it off on the kid, and like you try to prop them up and like make them figure out their goal, and then it almost adds more pressure onto them. And I don't think that's healthy. So you said like, it's being a hero and like saving someone. You're not really saving them if you have yet to like figure out how to be satisfied in life. That not everyone's going to be a hero. Like, and you kind of like, I don't know. This is a whole thing I feel like we could talk about.
Yeah, we probably should.
Like what kids are learning from their parents. I don't know. It's like keeping it on the game side of things. It's like, we said it the other day. It's like we got to figure out a way to make the world feel like a game that we all achieve and like prosper by working together, instead of the few and far between people that don't play video games, that are out there actually doing things that are, pushing the human race forward.
Blending both somehow. I think that is a challenge for our generation.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm getting a little tired. I think let's
ran the marathon.
Yeah, let's do some of the rest of these super chats, because I'm getting tired. Let's see where we were. Captain Sugar says, Eve doesn't have permadeath. You just lose your ship and whatever it was holding and respawn at your home station. Oh, okay. James Wallace says, Phantasy Star 4. I did play
game.
Phantasy Star. I don't remember which
one.
The
second
Maybe
one. Maybe
Universe.
Third one.
Is that one of them?
I think that was
Phantasy
an
Star
online
Universe.
One, yeah. I don't know. I never played it.
I played one of them. They were great. Denwo says, I like Tim a lot, but honestly love the energy you guys have. Tim is intense, so this is just relaxing and endearing to my heart. Really came into your own. Thank you very much, Denwo. I appreciate you. That's very nice of you. NYBSFP says, got No Man's Sky in VR after years of believing it was so boring I couldn't even think about it. It's not anymore. The VR is amazing. Okay, in VR, yeah, it's that does sound like the way to play that game if you're going to play it. Javier Navarro says, what I like about Smash Bros. Is how I can constantly think about how my opponent is playing and how I have to play to counter their strategies. I love that in games. That's interesting. But again, there's only so much fighting each other that I can take before I'm kind of bored. Rabid Kitten says, a super intense, detailed, and realistic RPG / first-person shooter is Escape from Tarkov. Permadeath makes the stakes of surviving high doesn't feel tedious. A permadeath RPG FPS.
This sounds awesome.
Are you interested? Are you as interested as I am?
Yeah, I'm going to write this down.
Wow. Escape from Tarkov. Rabid Kitten, thank you, because that sounds right up my alley. Yes. The Rising Refugee says, I feel like this all depends on what you do for the rest of the day. I get off work, and I just want to play things by myself and not deal with anyone. That's true. Sometimes people, there's a-holes everywhere. In all races, all around the globe. There's cool people also in all races and all around the globe. And sometimes it doesn't matter who they are, you just don't want to deal with them. Completely agree.
And sometimes, man, you play a video game and it gives you some confidence that you can then translate into your next interaction with a human. That happens for me my entire life.
I hope so. I hope that would be the case.
Definitely.
But again, it's everyone's different, There's a couple billion of us, and we're all different. Let's see here. Positive Thoughts says, I feel like video gaming is linked to my bipolar. Hey, maybe it is. Everyone's different. You never know. PJD418 says, you need a moderator. Smoothcat is spamming racist things in chat. Well, how about I just end the chat right now? And I think I'm going to do that. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. I know it kind of went a little long and kind of ran a little rampant on the video game chat. But, yeah, I had a lot of fun. And thanks, Ian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam.
Remember to follow us. There we go. You can tweet me any ideas. I have a pinned tweet about what I should talk about tonight. Feel free to hit me up with any sort of topics you want to hear us talk about. I mean, Tim is driving back right now. I think he's in New Mexico. He went out and did the Joe Rogan show, and now he's on his way back. So he'll probably be back here, probably not Friday, maybe Saturday, but I'm sure Monday morning or Monday afternoon, Timcast IRL will be back. And until then, we'll be here at 8 p.m. Rocking it out. Have a good day, guys.
Have a nice time.
Good night.
Yeah.